All right, so Kevin writes in, Josh, there's nothing you can do about being anti-woke. All the companies are woke now, so you might as well just go along for the ride. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but not much. I just, and of course, he said, I agree with you too, by the way. But, the companies are all woke, so nothing you can do about it. I'm like, dude, oh my goodness. Are you like 20 years old? Do you not have any semblance of history, of knowledge of history? Is there no wisdom in that freaking dark matter of yours? All right, so first thing, obviously, there's a couple of things I want to address here. First of all, these companies didn't just wake up woke yesterday, Kevin. There's a gradual movement to wokeness that over the last 5 years, it became fast like that. When it solidified. This is how freaking Nazis worked, dude. They didn't just wake up one day, Germany's Nazis. It was gradual, then just like that, got solidified under Kristallnacht and all that stuff. What happens with the commies? It always happens like this. It's gradual, then the opposition collapses. The Bolsheviks taking out the Mensheviks. It's the same thing. There's a pushback, there's a pushback, then one gains the upper hand, and when that happens, the pushback goes away because it's the path of least resistance. How do people not understand this? So what happens? I'm a corporate executive at a company A. I sit there 30 years ago. I said, I'm not going to promote woke agenda because my shareholders don't want me to do that, because my shareholders say I'm a fiduciary. I have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize my shareholder value. That's it. So we got these people on the left and the right every now and again coming in, promoting woke stuff. We say, no, we don't want any of that, because a pushback against that is huge, because people who own value company, my stock of my company, I should say, they want to maximize returns. So I'm going to minimize any kind of woke stuff. Slowly, though, Jesse Jackson, his Rainbow Push, Al Sharpton, his National Action Network, slowly they start rabble-rousing, protesting out front of my freaking corporate headquarters in New York. And I start saying, okay, to get you off my back, I'll provide you a little bit of a lifeline money-wise. And this is how the shakedown happens, dude. I'll provide a lifeline. So now we got Operation Push, National Action Network. You think other people don't see, that worked. So now we got other groups coming in, the feminists, the 57 flavors, immigrant lobby, the La Raza and all that stuff. They start doing the same thing. So now the corporate headquarters says, man, I tried to push back initially, but I didn't have any support, because most people just want to leave well enough alone. They just want me to max my shareholder. So now I have two options. I could stay neutral, but then I can have these rabble-rousers out there mocking me, resisting me, throwing tomatoes at me, throwing freaking cakes in my face and all that. I love Bill Gates. Or I can at least give lip service to these people and say, all right, come on in. And now you start getting lip service, that becomes money, and then the thing's done. Because now what happens is a little bit of victory gives these people freaking the motivation to keep punching, to punch. And next thing you know, you're like, the opposition falls away, the Mensheviks, because they're like, I don't want to be the only guy in opposition. I don't want to be the only one. So I'll just bite my lip to remain silent and let the woke happen. It didn't just happen overnight, Kevin. It's a path of least resistance. Initially, there's a lot of pushback to it, and then slowly that pushback became less and less until it became a zero. So now we got Jack Daniels, we got Bud Light, NASCAR. I mean, it's insane, man. Insane. These companies that should never be promote woke, because to be neutral is more hassle than to actually be actively aggressive in promoting wokeness. It's just all we got. Reba McEntire out there saying, "Oh my goodness, we should." Yeah, it's nuts. There is no downside for promoting wokeness, but it wasn't always like that. It happened because people sat on their hands, like Kevin. The same thing happens all the time, dude. Kevin can't figure this out. Is mind-boggling. So how do you fight this? Well, let me show you something else too, by the way. So here's my man Thomas Wolfe wrote this book, Radical Chick and Mau-Mauing the Flatcatchers, in 1970. 1970. This is how freaking ahead of the curve Tom Wolfe was. It's composed of two essays. These Radical Chick Evenings, first published in 1970 in a New York magazine, about a gathering of Leonard Bernstein held for Black Panther Party, and Mau-Mauing the Flatcatchers, about the response of many minorities to San Francisco's poverty programs. Both essays looked at the conflict between black rage and white guilt. And white guilt always Leonard Bernstein said, we're going to bring these pro-Cubanites into our office because we're living better than we feel guilty. We got to do something. So here, come on in. And that's exactly what happens. What happens in corporate America? Jamie Dimons of the world say, oh my goodness, we're so guilty. So come, we'll give you a lifeline of $5 million. And you're like, dude, so what, that guy Morgan Whalen or something like that, some country singer? He said the holy crap, he said the N-word. Oh my goodness, everyone run for the hills. I can't believe it's the words that was said, a white guy. Oh my goodness. And now he's going to give $500,000 to some black group. This is how it works, dude. You all know this. And now various people are saying, oh, he never gave it away. He only gave $400,000, so now we want more. This is how it works. It's not Walker. It's shut up money. We're going to rattle the cages enough to scare you until you finally say, oh, here's some money. Leave us alone. And then they're going to come back. It's no different than the mafiosos of the old days. Hey, nice restaurant you have here. Nice business you have here. Be a shame if something were to happen to it. You might want to pay us protection. I'm not going to pay protection. I don't need protection from. Who do I need protection from? Us. You don't pay protection, your business goes up in flames. So what happens? You pay your protection. That's what it's literally do. It's a shakedown. It doesn't happen overnight. So let me tell you about in Portland, Maine, when I was growing up. My mom worked at the Baker's Table, which was a restaurant. It's literally underground, by the way. I mean, literally, it's an Old Port. This is before Old Port became so hip and whatnot. And it had predominantly, if not even a gay clientele, if not even outright owned by gays, I don't know. But my mom would share with stories about all these guys dying from AIDS and whatnot, and they still did not stop what they were doing to get AIDS, because they basically, a lot of these guys were they're addicted to a certain activity that led to AIDS, if that makes sense. They just couldn't stop. They didn't even want to, frankly. But back in Portland, Maine, it wasn't kosher to be gay back then. This in liberal Portland, Maine in the 70s and 80s. You know what I'm saying? Even the Democrats weren't on board with all that crap. And I had a guy I knew I went to school with when I was like 8, 9 or something like that. He actually was like convicted of beating up gays in Old Port. You know what I'm saying? Get drunk and beating up gays, and he's dead now. But then I haven't spoke to him since I left Peaks Island. But I mean, I never liked the guy when I lived on Peaks Island. I just, long story short, he was a con man, and he died a clown. Maybe he changed, I don't know. But the point being, the gay lobby was just one guy essentially saying, stop, you shall not pass. And he got steamrolled. So a couple other gays joined. Stop, you shall not pass. And they got steamrolled. You know, the snowball effect. But slowly but surely, enough stood up to this kind of bad behavior. And they say, stop, you shall not pass. And they won. They said, you can't discriminate against gays. You can't beat them up. Say hate crime. Now, you shouldn't be doing that stuff, man. Just because someone engages in activity you don't like, you shouldn't beat them up. It's nuts. You certainly shouldn't discriminate against them. It's insane. Anyway, so they won. Now, the other side is us, the non-woke side. We're saying, no, we're okay with that. We're okay with gays getting free, rights. We don't have any problem with that. But now the pendulum's pushed too far that now we have to bow down to those rights because there isn't enough of us saying, stop, you shall not pass. So this is the issue that Kevin doesn't see. If enough of us stop and say, get together, consolidate our resources around a couple non-woke firms, and we say, hey, together we got $30 billion of investments that we're going to invite the Ave Maria funds to manage on our behalf. So the guy from George Schwartz from Ave Maria funds, the Dividend Growth Fund, is sitting there at a corporate meeting for friggin', I don't know, Jack Daniels, and they're getting ready to promote trans stuff. George Schwartz, representing $30 billion, say, no, this is nuts. We don't want them to discriminate against, but we should promote in this stuff. This is insanity. What are you doing? All you're going to do is piss off a lot of your freaking shareholders, never mind your customers. Why would you do that? Well, the reason they're doing it is because the CEOs, they live in Nashville, they live in New York. Nashville's lived. It's like Austin and San Francisco. Don't think because Nashville's in the South is freaking right wing. It's not. It's horrible politics in Nashville. Well, it's kind of like the lady from the New York Times, I forgot her name, Pauline Kael, I think. She was, I can't believe Nixon won. No one I knew voted for Nixon. And the people, Jack Daniels, like, no one I knew was against this, whatever that person's doing. I literally don't care. I literally don't care. Whatever Nike's doing, whatever, I don't care. Whatever I knew like that. Yeah, because you don't know what your customer base is, you fool. So I, as George Schwartz, sitting here representing the customer base who doesn't like this crap. Now, that doesn't mean you go punch people in the face. It means, no, we're not going to promote it for heaven's sake. But Kevin, on the other hand, it's like, it's already woke. We've lost. I'm like, no. You lost the battle. You haven't lost the war. The war is forever being engaged. The pendulum shifts. But it won't shift unless you stand firm with people who are going to represent you. There's strength in numbers, dude. Even if you don't have the majority numbers, you have enough to say, the guys from Jack Daniels say, we don't want to, we're not going to stand against George Schwartz. We don't want the rabble rousers protesting in front of us. We don't want the rabble rousers giving us a bad name. We're just going to take a neutral stance. That's all we ask. We just want to be neutral. So the pendulum was over here. Here's neutrality. It's probably too far to the, I don't know, I hate to say Christian conservative side because I'm sure it was. But we'll just use that for example. And then and then enough gay guys said, stop, you shall not pass right here, risking bodily harm, just like a lot of people are doing now on our side, literally risking bodily harm, as we see this guy up, Billboard Chris up in Canada and whatnot, literally risking bodily harm. We see the girl who swam for University of Kentucky, who's now with Outkick, I think, she literally risking bodily harm. She went to a TPUSA convention, and they were, her harm. She was going to get harmed. So, and now we are on this side here, where we are being risked of bodily harm for standing up to the tyrants. Slowly, though, enough people say, I'm going to stand up, and then the pendulum will go from neutral, which is pretty much where we want. And most gay guys wants too. Most people just want neutral. Most trans people want. Most people just want to be, most black people, most white people, most everybody. Muslims, they want to be neutral. Just let you do your thing, let us do our thing. But the pendulum's got to always swing, because there's all these grifters who take advantage of a moving pendulum. So now the pendulum is way over here. I don't want it over here. I want it right back here. And it's moving still. It's still moving in this direction, because there's a bunch of Kevins out there like, nothing to do about it. You just let the Nazis take over. No, that's not acceptable. So you say, Kevin, I get it. The risk is kind of painful, but someone's got to stand and say no more. And that someone will hopefully be us. That doesn't mean we're going to pull the pendulum back, but we might decelerate it. You see what I'm saying? So again, the pendulum is going like this. Maybe we'll slow down the trajectory and gather forces so it'll start to come back. But right now, you got to slow down the trajectory. And by sitting on the sideline and saying, anyway, love your thoughts. We'll see you.